Atlanta has been the mecca for the LGBTQ community for decades. And although the most famous battles of equality for the LGBTQ community was in New York City in the late 60s, Atlanta has attained its own battle scars. The LGBTQ community has worked to keep its history alive by vowing not to forget the location of police raids and even terrorist bombings, even when the bars and clubs have been long torn down.
At the intersection of 10th Street and Piedmont Avenue in Atlanta's Midtown neighborhood, it's hard to miss the rainbow crosswalks. They are symbolic of Atlanta as the LGBTQ+ capital of the South. This intersection is its epicenter. The crosswalks were first installed in October 2015 during Atlanta's annual Gay Pride Festival. Then they became permanent fixtures as part of a commemoration of a mass shooting at a gay nightclub in Orlando. The crosswalks also have been vandalized, most egregiously when they were painted over with a swastika. And though the LGBTQ+ community in Atlanta has had many and created many safe places to eat, to walk, to live, to party, it has still faced many challenges, from police harassment to civil rights struggles, even terror attacks. This crosswalk is a symbol of both the community's achievements and its continued struggle for human rights.
We are the Out Georgia Business Alliance, which is Georgia's LGBTQ+ and allied chamber of commerce. We support small businesses, nonprofits, and people across the state and in our community and our allies. We are supporting the LGBTQ Story Tour because history and our stories, it's important to us that we keep that history and understand that Atlanta and the state of Georgia has a huge role to play in LGBTQ movement. Atlanta Pride is the largest pride festival in the Southeast. Atlanta is known as the gay mecca of the Southeast and certainly the black gay mecca of the South. And so much has happened here, from Supreme Court decisions and cases to major employers making moves by way of protections for folks here in the state, to everything in between. Atlanta plays a huge role in our history. LGBTQ history is full of triumphs and some losses and deep tragedies along the way, but there is a lot of joy. And part of the story tour is pointing out both of those dynamics, the wins, the losses, and the sheer amount of progress that we've made over the past 5 and 6 decades. People don't know that Atlanta played a huge role in LGBTQ history, of course here in the South, but also nationwide. The Supreme Court decisions came through Atlanta and came through Georgia, and significant cultural moments came through the city in this area as well. It's important we get folks closer to the action and closer to where history was actually made. When you get close and when it's palpable, you can reach out and touch it and feel it. That's when we're going to start seeing culture and our history continue to be embedded in younger folks and the newest generations that are really coming into their own right here in the South.
We're at Ansley Mall, and we're standing in front of the Hideway, which was Atlanta's longest operating gay bar, starting in the 1950s. And it's closed now, but it was here for a long, long time. And one of the things we wanted to point out is that it's at the back of the mall. So that was one of the reasons it was the oldest continuously operating gay bar, because people could go to it and no one would see them. They could be completely anonymous and no one would know the bar was even there, and they could enter in the back and keep their closet, not be known or seen. So it just recently closed, but it was here, gosh, since the 1950s, the Hideway. So the Hideway is part of our LGBTQ Story Tour that we do throughout the year. And Ansley is important to the story because it was basically the first openly LGBTQ mall, and a place where businesses could be open and above board, especially if they were not hidden in the back of the building like the Hideway. And what we talk about a lot is that there was a movie theater here called the Ansley Mall Mini Cinema, and they were showing Andy Warhol's Lonesome Cowboys. And this was August 5th, 1969. And they had a huge police raid on the theater. There was a whole thing about a big anti-pornography crusade that was going on in Atlanta at the time. And so they came to the Ansley Mall Mini Cinema and they raided Andy Warhol's Lonesome Cowboys, and they said it was pornography, and they detained everyone in the audience and interrogated everyone, and they arrested the projectionist. And the thing that's important about that is that they call it Atlanta's own Stonewall. So it was 5 weeks after Stonewall, from June 28th, 1969 to August 5th, 1969. And it became a major event in terms of it was the catalyst for the Georgia Gay Liberation Front. We are in front of the former site of the Other Side, which was a major lesbian and gay bar. And it was bombed in February of 1997. It was bombed by the man who bombed the Olympic Park, Eric Rudolph, which of course was during the Olympics in 1996. So he managed to escape capture, and he came here in February 1997 to bomb this bar after having bombed the Olympics and also having bombed abortion clinics. So we did not know at the time who the bomber was, but we found out later, and it was horrendous because some people were injured. Luckily no one was killed, but some people were injured, and it definitely closed the bar. The bar could never recover from the bombing, which was really sad, and it was a wonderful place to go. It was one of the few places that was really welcoming for lesbian women and gay men in Atlanta. They had a huge dance floor. They had a whole separate cabaret. It was the former Steak and Ale, so it was really laid out that way. And it was really a huge loss. And of course it was terrifying for everyone because, you know, this bombing had occurred. And so we were actually, you know, the targets of bombing. And of course that had happened before in Atlanta with, you know, the temple being bombed and that kind of thing. As a result, they closed the bar, which was really unfortunate, and they were owned by 2 women. And it did lead ultimately to the capture of Eric Rudolph, which was great. And it was a national news story, the fact that this place was bombed, and that there was somebody who was a terrorist out there trying to kill lesbian and gay people, LGBTQ people, in addition to all the other terrorism that was going on. So it was ironic to me that it was Eric Rudolph who was the actual bomber, who was basically a serial bomber, a serial killer, and had been doing this all along, and eventually was captured and in life imprisonment, thank God, which well deserved. So there was always the possibility of violence and terrorism and assassination, and there were incidents all along that did not terrorize us or intimidate us or make us stop. You know, we wanted to have equal rights.